Ahab went and told Jezebel everything that happened. And she's very angry, and she essentially puts a hit on Elijah's life. And Elijah leaves to hide in the wilderness, and he goes and lies down under this tree and essentially begs God to let him die. He falls asleep, but then an angel wakes him up and says, "Eat, get up and eat." And there's a loaf of bread and water next to him. He eats, and then he goes and falls asleep again. And then an angel wakes him up again and says, "Get up and eat. You're going to need this for your journey." Elijah gets up and eats, and then he sets out and he walks for 40 days and 40 nights until he arrives at Mount Horeb. He goes into a cave there, and then he sleeps. And then God comes to him in a voice and says, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" Elijah says, "I've been zealous for you, but the Israelites abandoned you. They tore down your altars. They killed your prophets. I'm the only one left," which wasn't true. "And they're going to kill me now too." God says, "Go out and stand on this mountain." So Elijah does that. God brings a great wind that can tear down the mountain. But it says that God was not in the wind. And then he brings an earthquake, but it says that God was not in the earthquake. And then he brings a fire, but it says that God was not in the fire. Then he speaks to Elijah in a gentle whisper, and that causes Elijah to cover his head in reverence and humility. God again asks him, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" And he responds exactly the same way. "I was zealous for you, but Israel abandoned you. They killed the prophets. I alone am left, and they're trying to kill me." God says, "Go back the way you came. Go back to Damascus, and I want you to anoint Hazazel, king of Aram, Jehu as king of Israel, and Elisha as the prophet who will follow after you. These 3 men will put to death all of those who were rebellious and unfaithful, but I will reserve 7,000 in Israel who are faithful to me." A lot of people notice that God chose to use just his words, a still small voice, rather than the wind, earth, and fire, even though he showed that he could use wind, earth, and fire to destroy. But something I noticed here also was that when God was asking Elijah why he was there, Elijah was answering with his problem. He was answering what got him there, not the purpose of him being there. And that both times, God did not stop and pity him. He followed up with instruction of what to do next. God answered his crisis by telling him the purpose, the plan, and the next steps. He calls him to the next task at hand after showing him that merely the word of the Lord is enough to handle the problem.